Hello, I'm Dawn Bjork for KeyStone Learning Systems, and welcome to Intermediate Word 6.0 for Windows. Word for Windows has many powerful features designed to help you create dynamic and effective documents. In this module, we'll build on your basic Word skills and look at document management and customizing Word. In addition, I'll show you some more advanced editing and formatting commands. And finally, you'll see how you can enhance your documents with tables and graphics. Let's begin. Word for Windows has a variety of helpful features for viewing, printing, and managing your documents. We'll begin by looking at the different document views. Word provides 6 ways to view documents on the screen. Each view allows you to concentrate on different aspects of your work. So that we can work with these views, let's create a new document by using the letter wizard. We'll begin by selecting File and New. Next, we'll choose the letter wizard and continue. Remember, this is where we can create pre-written business letters or create a business letter of our own format. We'll continue to the next step. And this time we're going to create a letter regarding thank you for your inquiry. We'll continue and keep it on plain paper. The address could be any number of addresses. Here I'm going to highlight the previous one and put in something new. Then we'll choose Next. Once again, at the letter wizard, you can choose the style you'd like for this letter: classic, contemporary, or typewritten. By making these selections, you're going to choose different formats and fonts. We'll keep it at contemporary and choose Next. And finally, we're done. Simply choose Finish. The document appears on the screen with underlines concerning the areas that could be changed, and of course the entire document could be modified. At this time, let's save it. The subject was a thank you, so we'll call this a thanks. And choose OK or press Enter. The document appears in the normal view. That is the default document view that you will probably use for most of your word processing tasks, such as typing, editing, and formatting. The normal view shows text formatting, but it simplifies the layout of the page so that you can type and edit quickly. We can also switch our document to the popular page layout view, and we'll do so by selecting the View menu. Notice how Normal has a little dot in front of it. This is the currently selected view, and there are other choices including Page Layout. The Page Layout view displays each page in your document as it will look when you print it, including page margins. You can also continue to type, edit, and format text in this view. Right away, you should notice a difference from the normal view. Along the left side of the screen, Word displays a vertical ruler. You can use this ruler to set the top and bottom margins and to gauge the position of various document elements. In addition to the vertical ruler, the Page Layout view shows the page as it will appear when printed. Let me press the scroll bar on the bottom just to move over a bit, and here you can see the page boundaries. We can use this vertical ruler to modify the top margin if we want to, or we can choose, of course, the File Page Setup option. Let me show you how this vertical ruler will work. I have the mouse positioned on the ruler between the gray section and the white section. That is, this is where the top margin is set. You'll notice that the mouse pointer is now a double-headed arrow. I'm just going to press and drag this for a moment, and notice a dashed line appears on the screen. This is your graphical representation of that top margin. And as you drag the mouse, You can see how easy it could be to change the margin. Notice how the document will be reformatted as I drop this in place. I'm going to use the vertical scroll bar to move towards the bottom of the document so you can see how that is formatted. To the left-hand side, we also then could adjust the bottom margin using this vertical ruler. Another addition under the page layout view is on the right-hand side, where we have two buttons for moving between pages. At this point, this document is just a one-page letter, but I'm going to just insert a quick page break to demonstrate how this can be used. Okay. Once again, I'll move back towards the top. Even though this is a very short letter, just to demonstrate, let's insert a page break in front of the last paragraph. You might remember this is Control-Enter. The paragraph is moved to page 2, and as you'll see, the page layout view now displays pages vertically in succession on the screen. This is extremely helpful when working with longer documents. In addition, we're in page 2, and if we want to move back to the top of page 1, we'll simply use the scroll bar buttons on the right-hand side. Once again, I'll move over to those. Pressing the top one will move me to the top of page 1. If I want to return to page 2, press the bottom one. We can not only switch between the normal and the page layout view through the View menu, but we can also choose a button on the horizontal scroll bar. This is in the bottom left-hand corner. Notice that currently the second button is pressed, and as the tooltip pops up, this is described as the page layout view. The first button is Normal View, and I'll return to that for a moment. In the Normal View, we no longer have the vertical ruler at the left-hand side, and I'll move up with the scroll bars just a bit so that you can see how the page breaks are handled. Here we have the visible label that a page break has occurred, but we don't see the entire page as it will appear when printed. Let's switch back to the page layout, this time using the button in the scroll bar. The page layout view is not only a great way to work with your documents as they will appear when they're printed, but as we'll see later, it's also the way that we work with graphics. The outline and master document are special views for handling long documents. Let me show you these choices under the View menu. In addition to normal and page layout, we also have outline and master document. These will be explored in more detail in our next tape. Another way to switch the outline view is through a button in the scroll bar. And one more view under the View menu is full screen. Let's pick this for a moment and see how that will affect our document. As you can see, under the full screen view, the screen is completely clear of the toolbars, menus, and so on, which will help to maximize your document screen. And from here, you can still edit your text. In the bottom right-hand corner is a little icon. We'll simply click on that, which returns us back to our previous view. Before we continue, I'm going to simply hit the backspace key at this point, which, based upon my position in the document, will delete that page break. Another helpful view is Zoom. Zoom will let you work with your document in a view that's as large or small as you wish. To select the Zoom view, once again, pull down the View menu and choose Zoom at the bottom of this pull-down. As you can see, there are a number of different choices for viewing your document. Let's choose, for instance, 200%. In the preview area in the center of the dialog box, you'll be able to see exactly how large or small the text will appear based upon the selected view. Next, I'll choose 75%. Other choices are available, even including many pages. So when working with large documents, you can view multiple pages across the screen. In addition, you can customize your zoom by moving down to the percent box in the bottom left-hand corner. And here, by clicking on the spinner box, either increase or decrease the zoom or view of your document. Let's return back to 100% and then choose OK. If you'd like to customize a zoom from the document screen, this is available to you from the standard toolbar. Notice in the upper right-hand corner, currently we see 100%. By simply pulling down the list box, you will have the same basic choices available to you, anywhere from 200% to even 10%. Although 200% makes it very easy to read your text, we'll simply return back to 100% to make it a little easier to work with our document. And finally, the last view that's available to us is Print Preview. This is available either under your File menu or with the Toolbar option. Let's pick the Toolbar button. And presently, we have a view of our document so that we can see the entire page. Our mouse is switched to a little magnifier, so it's easy to zoom into a specific portion or area of text. In addition, there are other buttons here for printing and even viewing multiple pages. Don't forget your tooltips. To find out how a toolbar button works, simply pause your mouse button over the top of a button and a quick little post-it note message will appear. At this point, we'll close. Not only can you use the Print Preview mode to view the way that your document will appear when printed, but Word for Windows also has some great tools for creating envelopes and labels. Let's pull down the Tools menu and look at envelopes and labels. Using the Envelopes and Labels command, you can automatically create an envelope using an address from your document or an address that you type. You can also easily change the font used on your envelope. And you can print a single mailing label or an entire sheet of labels for one address. One of the options that was available in the Letter Wizard is to add an envelope to the letter that you create. We didn't pick this option initially, but we'll add it now. Word is usually smart enough to figure out which address to use. If more than one address appears in a document, highlight it first before picking this command. At this point, the delivery and return addresses can be modified. If you're printing to an envelope with a pre-printed return address, choose the Omit option. Other changes to the envelope are available under the Options button. Here you can change the envelope size. We'll pull down the list of possibilities. For right now, we'll keep it as a standard business size envelope that is size 10. Another option is to change the font for the delivery address. Currently, it is set as Arial Regular 11 point. This is the same font that it's used for this letter. But if you wanted to, we could choose, of course, to bold, make it a little larger or smaller. Any of these are possibilities. Let's choose OK to return. In addition, the position of your address on the envelope can be modified. Notice what happens under Preview as I make a change. Say I want that to sit a little bit higher. Well, from the top, I can move this up or down to adjust the position on the page. If you were using a return address, the same options are available. At the top of the dialog box, we can use the tab to move over to Printing Options. And here you will see a variety of different feed methods. Currently, the one that is selected is highlighted. User studies conducted by Microsoft indicated that a lot of people were confused as to how to position their envelopes when sending it to the printer. These little graphics are a very effective way of showing how you should feed in your envelopes. Here you'll see the selection for this laser printer, which is the standard method. However, you can also modify it or pick a more custom feed method for your printer. Let's choose OK to finish up with the options. As you'll see now, the delivery address appears with the change to the font. We did not modify our return address because we specified we wanted to omit it, as we may be printing to pre-printed letterhead envelopes. If we changed our mind, or if we want to edit either one of these areas, we can simply click into the address area and make additions or modifications. Notice now that in the preview, the return address appears in the upper left-hand corner. At this point, you can use the print button to print the envelope, or you can add the envelope to your document. The advantage of this choice is that the envelope and any changes are saved with a letter and can be printed multiple times. So that you can see the end result, let's add this envelope to the document. Because I made a modification to the return address, Microsoft Word is smart enough to ask me if I want to save that return address as the default, so that next time I work with the envelope features, it would automatically come up. And in this case, I'll go ahead and say yes. Now you can see the envelope as it appears in the page layout view. To make it a little bit easier to see this envelope, let's adjust our view by using our zoom button. And we'll choose 50%. Now you can see our envelope as it will appear when printed. As we move down, our letter also appears. If you would prefer to use mailing labels, this is also very easy to do. You can decide to print one mailing label or even a sheet of the same address. To work with mailing labels, choose once again Tools, Envelopes and Labels. Here we have our previous setup for our envelope, but we also have another tab for labels. The address appears as it would be printed. Currently, the print option is to print the full page of the same label, or you could specify a single label and position it on your sheet of labels. Let's look at the options for a moment. Under the label options, the label type and size can be modified. These label choices are based upon various Avery products. As I scroll down the list, you'll be able to see the wide selection. As a specific type of label is picked, the label information would appear on the right-hand side. For instance, if we pick one of the address labels, 5261, notice how the label information changes on the right-hand side. This is the only modification we'll change at this time. Let's choose OK. As before with the envelopes, we can either print this sheet of labels, or we can create a brand new document. The advantage of building a new document is that we can save the file and use it again. This would be a real handy feature if we were communicating with someone on a regular basis. Let's look at what happens with a new document. Very quickly and easily, Microsoft Word has created the layout for a sheet of labels to, in this case, the same person all the way through. And that's all there is to working with envelopes and labels. As with other Windows programs, we can have more than one document at the same time. By working with multiple document windows, we can share data between documents and easily compare revisions and edits. Previously, I saved the labels, closed those down, and also closed the Thanks document. We're back now at our blank document screen, Document 1. If I want to go back and work with a document that I've used previously, I'll simply pull down File, and at the bottom of the screen is a list of the last 4 documents that have been worked with. Under Word 6.0 for Windows, you can actually modify your system to show up to 9. We're going to pick Thanks. When this document was saved, all of the settings, including the page layout view as well as the zoom, were saved with it. There are several easy ways to move between open document windows. Let's pull down the window menu. Here you will see a listing of all of the currently open documents. We have Document 1 and then Now Thanks. The check mark indicates the name of the file that's currently active. To move to another document, simply choose the name from the list. Another way to switch between open files is with the keyboard command, Control F6. This will move you to the next window. If you have 3, 4, or more windows open at the same time, you may also want to keep in mind Control Shift F6 will move you back to the previous window. It's easy to move information from one document to another using Word's Edit, Cut, Copy, and Edit, Paste commands. But it's also possible to move or copy text between documents by using drag and drop. Let's see all the document windows at once. We'll do this under Window and Arrange All. Okay. Notice that the active title bar will appear only at the top of one document window. You can easily switch to another document by clicking on the window or by pressing Control F6. We're at the Thanks document. Let's move in that document further down into the text, and I'm going to switch the view back now to 100%. Next, I'll select the text that I'd like to move into Document 1. Okay. Simply drag and drop. We have the pointer on the text, and we'll just drag into the other document. But we really meant to copy the text, not move it. When we drag and drop, we're automatically doing a move. So let's click on Undo. To copy the text rather than to move it, press the Control key on your keyboard and then drag and drop to the new document. Now you can see how easy it is to use a drag and drop feature between windows. For right now, we'll close down Document 1. And no, we do not need to save the changes. To make it a little easier to work with this Thanks document again, I'll simply choose the Maximize button to enlarge the view. As you begin working with larger documents, you may wish to view different areas of the same document. Let's move back up to the top of this document. To create two different views of the same document, select Window and New Window. Notice at the top in the title bar the name Thanks DOC:2. That is, this is the second view or window of the same document. Under Window, we can see these two options. To view them a little bit more easily, select Arrange All, and they will be tiled for us. Now it's possible to move down in one of these documents to a different point in the view. This feature is especially useful when working with longer documents such as reports or manuals. If you'd like to work with your files in this way, keep in mind that the file close will close the entire file, thanks.doc. If we want to simply close the window, we use the Control menu button. And now we're still working in Thanks, but we only have one view of it. As you continue your work with Word, you'll find that the ability to easily work with multiple documents will be very handy. Some other document management features are found under Find File. The Find File command on the File menu helps you locate documents by searching in disk or directories for file names or specific words or phrases in the document. Let's locate this under File and Find File. Currently, our search is set to look for all the files with the extension .doc. The location of the files needs to be specified. Here we could type in a path, for instance, where we wanted to search or look for files. Next, choose OK. Before we leave, though, I want to mention real quickly that you must have a file name criteria and a location before the Find File will work. On the left-hand side, is a list of all the files located in the Windward subdirectory. On the right-hand side is a preview of the contents of that file. As we move down, you can see the contents and a good idea of the format as well. If you'd like to modify your search, that is, to look for different files or in different locations, choose the Search button again. To specify other search criteria, let's choose the Advanced Search button in the Search dialog box. Here you'll see that presently we're searching for all the files with the extension .doc in the Windward subdirectory, but we may also have our documents stored in other locations. On the right-hand side are the available directories on our system. We can even change the drive if we wish. Here I'll pick KeyStone and add that subdirectory to the list. And now our searches will take place in both of these areas. Let's choose Next, OK. And then OK again. As we continue down in the list, the KeyStone subdirectory is also part of the Find File listing. Let's return back to Search. Advanced Search will also let us search for key components within a file, such as content, text, author, and so on. Let's choose the tab at the top for Summary. This is where you can indicate specific search criteria in different areas. We're going to look for all the documents where the author is Chris Taylor. The author information comes from your user info that's normally added as you are set up for Word. Next, we'll choose OK. And then OK again. As you can see, our list is very specific now, only to those documents where the author is Chris Taylor. Now, to verify that or to see that, we can also change our view. In the bottom left-hand corner, we're currently looking at the preview. Simply change it to Summary, and the Created By information shows as Chris Taylor. Another way to view your documents is by selecting File Info. In here you can find a little bit more information about the document, such as the last time it was saved. We'll return back to Preview. Once again, we'll select Search, and then Advanced Search. Word remembers the last screen that we were working at. No longer do we want to look for a specific author, but we do want to look for all the documents that contain specific text. This can be anything you're looking for, but I have a few documents out there that are referring to the state of Hawaii. Next, I'll choose OK, and once again, OK. The list on the left-hand side shows the files that contain somewhere in the text the word Hawaii. And as you can see by the title of this first document, that is in fact true. If this was a search that you wish to conduct on a regular basis, it can be saved. I'll show you how that can be done once again under Search. If we want to go back and search for the same documents again, we can choose Save Search As. And here we'll put in Documents About Hawaii and choose OK. Additional searches can be saved so that it's easy to switch back and forth between the groups of documents that you'd like to see. Before I finish, I'd like to change the list back to a list of all the files. So return to Advanced Search and clear the entry for Hawaii. With the Find File command, you can easily open, copy, print, or delete several documents at the same time. We can select those documents by simply using the control. That is, I'll pick the first document here, music. As I scroll down the list, I want another one called Report. Simply by holding down the Control key on the keyboard, I can click on Report, and both of these files are selected. A number of commands are available to me. Simply pull down the commands list, and what I'd like to do with these files is to delete them. I could also copy, print, even though I have multiple files selected. Fortunately, Word does ask whether or not I really do want to delete those files, and yes, I do. I could also open multiple files as well by selecting them with the control. Let's choose Thanks. By the way, you can unselect a file as well by using the control. And I have another file here called Choco for chocolate. Let's choose Open. When we pull down Window, we can see that both of these files were opened at the same time. It's also possible to open multiple documents through the File and Open dialog box. Here we have the option for the Find File dialog box, which we can always switch to as well. If we want to open multiple files, once again hold down Control, select the files by simply pointing and clicking. And now under the window we have 4 files open. As you can see, the Find File command is a handy way to manage your Word documents. We also worked with different document views, envelopes and labels, and working with multiple windows. Next, I'll show you how to customize Word. Now that you're familiar with Word 6.0 for Windows, you may want to customize the screen and other options to work the way that you like. I'll show you how you can change your toolbars and other standard defaults in Word. Before I show you how to customize your toolbar, I'd like to close down all the documents we opened in the previous section. There's a quick and easy way to do this. Simply hold down the Shift button on your keyboard and pull down the File menu. Now the Close command has become Close All. Next, I'll just open up a plain document, that is, use the File New button. To customize the toolbar, we'll work with View, Toolbars, and here you will see marked off the 2 standard toolbars that we normally see in the Word screen. Others such as borders, drawing, and so on could also be added. One of your options is to turn on or off the color buttons. If you work with a high-resolution monitor, you may want to pick large buttons. Let's take a moment to choose OK, just so that you can see the black and white toolbar buttons. I'll go back to View and Toolbars, and we'll turn those back on. Next, let's choose Customize. Here we can modify the toolbars and add various tools representing categories or file options. For instance, something that I would like to have on the toolbar would be a command to just close a file. This Close button closes all the windows of the active document. We can see that by the description at the bottom of this dialog box. If I want to add this to the standard toolbar, I'll simply drag it up next to the other file management options and drop it in place. If I change my mind, I'll simply drag it back off. Let me add that one again so I can show you another way in which to customize your toolbars. We'll choose Close. If you'd like to pull a tool off of the toolbar, you can simply hold down the Alt key and just drag it off. It's that simple. Another way to customize the toolbars is to simply point up into the toolbar area. We're looking for the gray portion around the buttons. Press the right mouse button, which you might recall is a shortcut button. Here you can select which toolbars you'd like to work with, as well as go into the Customize option. And once again, buttons can be added or removed from this area. There are a variety of very helpful tools. You customize the toolbar based upon the activities which you use most often. A little later in this module, I'll also show you one of the other toolbars, that is, how we can add borders and shading to our text. For right now, we'll close out. Each time you select the File New command and then choose Normal, Word creates a blank document using all of Word's standard defaults. I'll show you how you can modify these defaults to suit the way you'd like to work with Word. To change the standard font that you work with, currently it is Times New Roman 10. Let's choose Format and then Font. If, for instance, you'd like to work with a larger size font, simply change that in the size, and then instead of selecting OK, which would only change the font for this document, select Default. You will be asked to verify whether or not you wish to change the default font. The change will affect all the new documents that are based upon the normal template. That is the file that stores these settings. Next, if you wish to change your standard margins, select File, Page Setup, and under Margins you can modify these according to the defaults that you use most often. Keep in mind it's always possible to change these settings for individual documents. Just to show you a simple example, I'll change the top margin to 2 inches. Next, let's choose the default button. Once again, you'll be asked to verify whether or not you wish to change the default settings, and we'll choose Yes. To see how these settings or these new changes will affect your documents, let's choose File, New, Normal is fine, and choose OK. Now you'll see that our standard default font is Times New Roman 12 point. To see the top margin change, I'll move to the Page Layout view. And notice where the insertion point is sitting, 2 inches from the top of the page. I also could have changed the left and right hand margins, but I'm going to keep these in place for right now. I'll return back to the normal view. I could use the buttons on the scroll bar or the menu. The Word 6.0 for Windows environment is already designed to work well for most users. However, a number of options can be changed. Let me show you how. To customize specific user options, select Tools and Options. Here you will see an extensive list of different choices, all represented in the tab dialog box. I'll just move to a few of these. Let's switch to General for a moment. If you have switched to Word for Windows from WordPerfect, you may want to activate the Help for WordPerfect users, or even to change to the blue background with the white text. Let's continue looking at some of these other options. Many of these would not be modified normally, but for instance, we could switch on and automatically work with the overtype mode. Printing options are also available. User information can be modified. This user information is pulled in by many of the templates in Word. Other choices are available. As you work on the options, you may simply want to tab through them to see. As I mentioned earlier, most of these options are perfectly fine to keep just as they are. Word 6.0 for Windows includes a number of helpful tools for editing and enhancing your documents. These include Find and Replace, Auto Text, and the Format Painter. Let me show you how these work. With the Find command, you can search for text, formats such as bold and indents, special characters, and other elements. To search for and replace these items, you can use the replace command. To demonstrate, I'll open a small Word file. If you'd like to follow along, pause the tape and take a few minutes to type the text in this chocolate file. The Find command is useful for locating text and special characters in a document. Select the Edit menu and then choose Find. We're going to choose and look for the word chocolate. Select Find Next, and you will see that the located text is highlighted. At this point, we could cancel out of the Find command or continue. We'll continue with Find Next. As you can see, the word is found within another word, that is the plural form. You could change this by turning on the feature Find Whole Words Only. Also, case sensitivity may be a factor. Previously, the Find command found chocolates both uppercase and lowercase. When we choose Find Next, we'll discover that Word has finished searching the document. It's also possible to look for special characters. These are found under the Special button. The list is quite extensive, but it includes paragraph marks and other special types of characters within your documents. At this point, we'll cancel. To find and replace text in a document, we'll return once again to the Edit menu and then choose Replace. This time we're going to look for an abbreviation, DCC, which stands for the Delectable Chocolate Company. I'll press Tab to move to the next text box. Before I begin the replacement, I'm going to choose Match Case to ensure that the text is replaced appropriately. If this was a common abbreviation, you might instead use the Auto Text feature, which I'll show you next. We'll continue by pressing the Replace button. Word highlights the text, and we have the option now to replace, which we will. Replace All would globally move through the document without stopping at each occurrence. Word has finished searching the documents. It will list out how many replacements occurred. In this case, since the last button I pressed was Replace All, only one replacement is mentioned. Next, I'll choose Close. Something that we could also have done in the last replacement was not only search for the text and replace it with other text, but actually to replace the format. Let me show you how that can be done. Once again, I'll choose Edit and Replace. This time I'm going to search for the text, Delectable Chocolate Company. I don't want to replace the text, but I do want to add some formatting. So I'll delete this entry and instead choose the Format button. From here, I'll choose Font. And let's say that I want that to be italicized. Choose OK. And notice under the Replace With that Format shows italics. Next, choose Replace. You'll see in the document that this text is highlighted. Notice the change as I pick the Replace button. And then we can close. Let's wrap up by looking at a few other options under the Find and Replace commands. At this point, I can also work with a feature called Sounds Like. I'm looking for a word exquisite, and I'm not really sure how that's spelled, so I'm simply going to find it. I'm going to choose Sounds Like, and then choose Find Next. And notice how Word is smart enough to often be able to work with the sounds like feature. Keep in mind that we can use the Find and Replace command to search for various elements in our documents. Here I'm going to turn off the sounds like and edit out the Find What. As I showed you before, we can look for special characters. These could include paragraph marks, other special characters that are created in a document. For instance, if you are downloading a file from mainframe or from some mail systems, you may want to strip out the paragraph marks at the end of each line. That's something that you could look for. You'll notice here that a special code is placed in the document. The search right now is going to search down, which is perfectly fine, although you can specify up or all. Next, we'll choose Find Next. And notice as Word stops at the end of the paragraph. We continue, and there's some additional paragraph marks in this document. We do not specify a replacement, but we could, for instance, say that the paragraph mark is replaced by a space. At this time, we'll cancel. Most business applications include the use of repetitive text, such as a company address or a signature block on a letter. With the auto text feature, we can automate the use of many of these elements. Auto text will let you store frequently used text and graphics to reuse across all of your documents. Simply input the abbreviation for the text, and with one click, Word automatically expands it. Let's try an example. We're at a new document now, and you can type in any address such as your own name or company. Include any formatting that you'd like. Here I'll press Control-B to turn on bold. And then Control-B again to turn it off. I'll move to the next line, Control-I for italics. And continue with your address. To work with auto text, first of all, select the text that you'd like to repeatedly pull into your documents. Next, choose Edit and Auto Text. There's also a toolbar button that we could have selected. Enter the name for your abbreviation. Here we'll call this WW for worldwide. You'll see the selection below at the bottom of this dialog box. Choose Add. Now we'll move down a little bit further in the document and simply type in WW. To activate the auto text, we can push the auto text button, or we can press the F3 function key. This is the button we also could have selected when we first added this to our list. And that's all there is to it. These auto text entries are normally stored in the normal template so that they're available from any documents that you build. Auto text entries can also include graphics. First, I'll switch to a page layout view to show this to you. Next, I'll move this to 100%. The name of our auto text is Golf. Next, choose the Auto Text button or press F3. This can be a great way to bring in a repeating letterhead, logo, or any other commonly used element in Word. I'll show you later a little bit about how we can actually create this type of entry. Another helpful item on the standard formatting toolbar is the Format Painter button. This tool can be used to copy formatting from one piece of text to another. I'll show you how it works. Once again, I've opened up the chocolate file. I'm going to make a few changes to the first piece of text here, the name of the company. And we'll go into Format and Font. For instance, I'm going to change this text to small caps. This is one of many special effects that can be applied to your text. To see how those work, you can simply make the selection and then look in the preview. Here the lowercase characters have been converted to small caps. Next I'm going to change the font to Arial. This could also be any number of the other true type fonts that are available to you. And we'll make it bold. Finally choose OK. If I wanted to pass on the formatting to the other pieces of text, I could perform a replace command, but the Format Painter is even easier. I've selected the text that has the format that I want to copy, and then simply move up to the standard toolbar. Here you'll see the Format Painter. It looks like a little paintbrush. We'll click once and notice how our pointer has changed. Now we'll simply paint over or select the next piece of text that we'd like to take on this formatting. And that's all you have to do. If you'd like to repeat the Format Painter, then double-click on the tool. And it will be in place as long as you would like or until you turn it off again. Another trick I'd like to mention just briefly about working with fonts is a concept called Most Recently Used. If I pull down the list of fonts here on this document, you'll see at the top that Arial and Times New Roman are listed at the top. These are the most recently used fonts. This list can be up to the 9 most recently used or most commonly used fonts. This is a much better way of working with the fonts than having to scroll down an entire list. These features that we just looked at, Find and Replace, Auto Text, and the Format Painter, are designed to save you time and make it easier to use Word 6.0 for Windows. In addition to line spacing and text alignment, your paragraphs can be formatted in a number of ways. We can work with tabs, indents, bullets and numbering. It's possible to sort text and even add borders and shading. To show you how to work with tabs, I'm going to start in a new document. A Word document has tab settings at every ½ inch. I'll simply press the Tab key and notice as the insertion point moves to the right. This is a little easier to see if we turn on the Show Hide button. This will display the tab characters as they are inserted into the document. Sometimes in a Word document, though, custom tabs are used to properly align columns of text and numbers. Let's look at how we can do that. I'll delete these tabs and we'll go back to the beginning. If you wish to change the tabs for the current document, choose the Format menu and then Tabs. This dialog box allows you to set or clear tabs. If you set tabs, Word uses your tab settings and ignores the default tabs of every ½ inch. Word allows you to set 5 different types of tabs. These are described by their alignment. The left aligned tab means that the first character of the text aligns with the tab stop. Under Center, the text is centered over the tab stop. Right aligned, the last character of the text is aligned with the tab stop. We use decimal when working with numbers to align the numbers at the decimal point. A bar tab is a special kind of tab that will draw a vertical line through your paragraph at the specified location. In addition, we can specify a dot leader, that is, a special character that will lead up to or precede the tab stop. For this practice document that we're creating, we'll build 3 tab settings, a left, a center, and a decimal tab. First of all, let's choose Clear All to remove all of the current tab settings. You can also use the Clear command to remove an individual tab. At the tab stop position, type in 0.5, which means that this tab will be ½ inch from the left-hand margin. Left is selected, and then choose Set. Next, we'll type in 3. We do not have to delete what was previously entered in because this text box is highlighted. So as soon as we begin typing, it will replace the previous entry. This next tab will be at 3 inches, and will be centered. Once again, choose Set. Finally, let's set a tab that's at 5 inches and is decimal aligned. All the tab settings are listed in this area. As you click, or if you click on one of the tab settings, you'll see that all of the choices are displayed on the screen for you, such as center or decimal alignment. To continue, choose OK. Back at the document, notice the tab settings in the ruler. At 1/2 inch, we see a little L for left aligned. At 3 inches is our centered tab, and then finally our decimal tab. Let's use these tabs now to build our document. First, we'll add a centered title. To center, we can do one of two things. Either press the alignment button or press Ctrl-E, which is a shortcut key for center. Next, we'll press Enter a few times to move down. Because Word copies the paragraph formatting forward to the next line, we need to change it back to left aligned. So we'll press Ctrl-L. Now we'll take a few minutes to create a simple table. Each time you want to move to the next location, simply press Tab. Notice how the Center tab works. The text is centered at that location. The next tab is decimal. Continue making a few additional entries. Every time we press the Enter key, Word copies the paragraph formatting. That is, each of those tab settings is copied forward. Notice how easily each column lines up with the tab alignment. Whenever you have columnar data, make sure that you do not use spaces. Instead, either use tabs or the table feature, which we will look at later. To finish up these tabs, now press Tab once to go to the tab at 1/2 inch. To change the position or even the type of tab, you must first select all of the text that you want to change. Next, you can return to the Format Tabs menu option or even change the tabs by using the ruler. Let's look at how the ruler can help us with our tabs. First of all, we'll select this entire section. Next, we can go up to the ruler and simply drag the tabs left or right. Remember that these changes only affect tabs within the selected area. To change the tab type at the ruler, let's look at the Tab Alignment button to the left of the ruler. Right now you'll see this button as a little L. Each time it's pressed, the tab type will change. Now we have center, right, and decimal. We'll pick left. To add the tab to a ruler, simply click anywhere in the ruler. To replace an existing tab, drag the tab on top of the old one. Now we've changed the center aligned tab to left aligned, and we can reposition it as well. If you want to delete a tab setting, either return to the Format Tabs dialog box or simply drag the tab setting off of the ruler. I'll add a tab and then show you how easy it is to remove. Let's go over to the Tab Alignment button, and this time we'll pick Center. Now to add this tab, I'll simply click into the ruler. And I'll pull off the other tab that I'd added previously. And now the text is aligned by that center tab. Once you're finished using the tabs, often you will need to set your tabs back to the standard default. Let's do that by moving to the bottom of this document. Next, choose Format, Tabs, and Clear All. When we choose OK, the tabs will automatically be set back to the default tabs of every ½ inch. At this time, we can save this file as tabs or any other valid file name and close. To set off a paragraph from other text, you can indent a paragraph a number of ways. I'll show you how this can be done with one of our practice documents. Let's open the file Thanks. We created this earlier. I'm going to switch the view back to 100% and move to page 2. Specifically, move into one of the paragraphs within this document. If you want to indent one paragraph, you can simply click anywhere in the paragraph. To indent multiple paragraphs, they need to be selected first. One way to indent a paragraph is from the formatting toolbar. This is in the upper right-hand corner, and you'll see two buttons for Decrease Indent and Increase Indent. Let's choose Increase. Notice how easily that text moved over ½ inch. Indents use the default tabs or current tabs in a document. If we want to reverse the indent, we'll choose Decrease Indent. I'll try the indents again, but this time look at the ruler at the top to notice the markers that will move. Increase, I'll increase again, and decrease to remove the indents. Let's look at that ruler in more detail. The left-hand margin is at 0. Placed currently on top of the left-hand margin are a number of little icons or little characters. The top triangle represents the first line indent marker. The bottom one is the left indent marker. The box below allows us to drag these markers back and forth. I'll show that to you in more detail. On the right-hand side, we have the right-hand margin as well as the right indent marker. Let's drag the right-hand indent marker in for this paragraph. And I'll move that to 5 inches on the ruler. I'm also going to drag in the left indent marker. Notice how this has changed this paragraph, because in addition I want to change the first line indent as well. Now both the left and the right hand side have been indented by 1 inch. If we want to hang a paragraph, that is, to have a distance between the first and the left indent markers, we can simply drag those pieces back and forth. Here we have a first line indent of 1/2 inch from the left-hand margin and also 1/2 inch from the left indent marker. To drag both of those, drag the little box at the bottom. In this manner, the distance between the first line and the left indent remains the same. We're simply changing the distance from these indent markers and the left margin. We might hang a paragraph when we want to insert a number in front of it. Next, I'll press Tab to scoot the text over to the same position as the rest of the text. When you make changes to the indents in your documents, you are not affecting the overall margins of the document. Simply, you're affecting the selected or highlighted paragraphs and any of the paragraphs that immediately follow. I'll show you how paragraph formatting can be copied forward within a file. Let's move for a moment down to the next paragraph. And we'll quickly change the indents by pulling in both the left indent marker and the first line marker. I'll also change the right-hand side. I'm just going to scroll down just a bit and move to the paragraph mark at the end of this paragraph. Remember that paragraph formatting is stored in the paragraph mark. So once you set up the indenting and you want to have it continue throughout your document, it will be copied forward when you press the Enter key. Notice in the ruler that these settings are still in place. And now we could type additional text. If I press Enter again, I'm copying that format forward for the next paragraph. Here's an important tip to keep in mind when working with your documents. Never press the Tab or the space bar to try to create the illusion of indents. If you do so, you're going to create a real mess to work with. Also, be real careful not to press Enter at the end of each line. It might look good on your document until you have to start editing or formatting it. Instead, practice a little bit with the indent commands until you're comfortable with them. These will help you to very easily format your paragraphs. Although using the ruler is usually the fastest and easiest way to set indents, you can use the paragraph command from the Format menu to set precise measurements for paragraph indents. Let's move to another paragraph. As I mentioned before, if we only want to format one paragraph, we can simply click anywhere into the paragraph. It's also fine, though, to select it. Next, choose Format, Paragraph. Notice on the left-hand side an area where you can specifically indicate the measurements you'd like for the left indent or the right indent. For instance, we might put in 1.5, 1.5. I just press the Tab key to move to the next tab box. Let's look at OK and see how this affects our document. You'll notice the change up in the ruler. I'll return back to Format Paragraph to change that just a bit. Let's bring that in from the left by 1 inch and the right on 1 inch. There's also a preview box that gives you a good example of how the text is being reformatted. Under the Special box, you can ask for or specify a hanging indent. Notice the preview then as it affects your document. That is, the hanging is by 1/2 inch. We usually use hanging indents when we have agenda items or other numbered or labeled items. So here we would add in that label and use a tab to move across. Keyboard shortcuts are also available for setting indents, such as Control-T to set a hanging indent. If you want to undo all the paragraph format, press Control-Q, which will remove all the paragraph formatting, including tabs, indents, and line spacing, and returns your paragraph format back to the default. Let's try that so we can work with, briefly, some of these shortcuts. I'm going to first of all select all of this text, and I'll use Control-A, which is a shortcut for selecting an entire document. Next, I'll press Control-Q. This will reset the text back to its original format. If we want to, for instance, set a hanging paragraph or hanging indent, we can select that paragraph and press Control-T. Notice at the top how easily the indent is set up. Control-Q will cancel. Other handy shortcuts for formatting paragraphs include Control-2 for double spacing and Control-1 to return it to single. Control-5 will set line spacing at 1.5 lines. Another way to organize and present data is by creating a bulleted or numbered list. Let's look at the steps involved. We'll start in a new document. Type a quick list of items. Next, select the lines of text. To add bullets to this list, we'll simply use the bullet tool in the formatting toolbar. This is on the right-hand side. We can also use the indent to move the list over to the right. To change the list to a numbered list, we also have a button for that. It's that easy. I'm going to press Enter and show you how easy it is for this numbering to be carried forward. Next, I use drag and drop to move some of these items. The renumbering is automatic. Finally, if I delete an item, the list will become renumbered as well. It's also possible to customize a list. I'm going to select this text again and choose Format, Bullets and Numbering. Here you can choose a different style of bullets or numbering from the selected list. Let's change this to alpha characters and then choose OK. When working with a bulleted list, choose Format, Bullets and Numbering, and I'll click back to that tab. Here you'll see some standard bullets, although it's possible to modify these as well. Another option under Bullets and Numbering is the multi-level list. This can be often used in technical documents and other documents where you want a list with more than one level. I'll show you how easy it is to set this up. Let's start a multi-level list below our previous example. First we'll choose Format, Bullets and Numbering, and select the tab for multi-level. Here you can see a number of different styles that you can pick from. We'll pick the first one. At this point we can type in our first item. I'm going to create a simple example that you can also create if you'd like. If I want to move down to the next line, of course I can press Enter. To move in a level, simply click on your indent button. Unfortunately, there are some spelling errors that even autocorrect can't find. Once again, I'll choose Indent to move in one more level. If my next item is in the same level, it will automatically be numbered. To move back out again, choose the Decrease Indent button. And once again with the Decrease Indent. It's that easy to create a multi-level list. And if you decide to change the numbering system, simply select the text again, pick Format, Bullets and Numbering, and pick a different style. This is a great and handy feature. And finally, it's very easy to change the options under Smart Bullets and Numbering. Let's go back up to our initial list and highlight it. And choose Format, Bullets and Numbering, and Modify. First of all, you can select from a number of different bullet characters. If none of these are to your liking, the bullet button will bring us into our Insert Symbol or Symbol selection, where you can pick a different style. We'll go ahead and OK. Now if we're working with a numbered list, we'll choose Format, Bullets and Numbering, and pick Numbered, and then Modify. Here we have a great feature. The numbering system can be customized according to how you normally would like to list out the items, including as we move down here. Notice first, second, 1, 2, and so on. I'll choose first and second. Notice the preview, and we'll continue. One more modification. Select the text again, choose Format, Bullets and Numbering, Modify, and let's increase that distance just a little bit for that indent. That's all you have to do. This is called Smart Bullets and Numbering, and it's easy to see why. With the Sort Text command, you can quickly arrange your text alphabetically, numerically, or by date. We can select up to 3 key criteria, as well as choose ascending or descending orders. Let me show you how this works. To work with Sort Text, we'll try a quick example with a numbered list of your choice. Next, select the list, choose Table, and Sort Text. In this case, we wish to sort the text by paragraphs. This feature can be really handy, however, as we'll see later in working with tables and even lists of names and addresses that we might want to send a mailing to. We'll choose OK. Notice how easily the text was sorted alphabetically. Once again, I'll choose Table, Sort Text, and we can choose Descending. And then, once again, OK. Although other sort options are available, this is often all you will need to do to get the sorted list that you want. As I mentioned, I'll come back to this feature in a little bit more detail when we build a table. Shading and bordering a paragraph can really make your words stand out. These enhancements are part of paragraph formatting, just like line spacing or indentation. I'll show you how we can add borders and even shading to your text. To apply a border to a paragraph, return to the thanks letter or any other document you might have with paragraphs. Next, select one of the paragraphs in the letter. We'll choose the Format menu, and then Borders and Shading. Choose from one of the preset borders such as Box or Shadow, and we'll choose OK. Notice how quickly we could add a nice enhancement to this text. Let's look at that again. We'll add another border to the second paragraph. Once again, Format, Borders and Shading. Instead of picking from one of the preset borders, we're going to customize this a bit. We're going to add a line at the top, and the thickness and the style of the line can be modified. Make this a little heavier. And the same line at the bottom. Next, choose OK. To add shading around a paragraph, select the text again, choose Format, Borders and Shading, and this time we're going to tab over to the shading area. Currently the fill is none, but custom shading is available. It's a fairly extensive list of possibilities. Keep in mind, however, that the text needs to be easy to read, so we'll stick with something fairly light. Of course, borders and shading can be combined and used in the same paragraph. If you selected the contemporary style when you created the thanks letter, we can also see a border at the letterhead near the top. I'll move up to show this. This is another example of a border that has been applied to this line or paragraph. If we wanted to change the style, we could once again choose Format, Borders and Shading, and we'll go back to the Borders area. Notice how the bottom line or border is selected. Let's make this a double line. If you have a color printer, you may also want to add color. This can be something that we can add not only with borders, but it's available under fonts as well. We'll make that bright red. Let's choose OK. I'm going to make some additional changes by pulling in the right side indent. Just as it works with text, this can also affect our borders, because the borders are actually part of the paragraph formatting. As I mentioned, it's also possible, if we wish, to change the format or color even of text. I'm going to make a quick modification here to show you that. Select the text, choose Format, Font, and Color. And we could also make this red if we wanted to, or one of the other choices. Let's go back and modify one of our previous paragraphs to show you yet a couple other features. Choose Format, Borders and Shading, and this time I'll choose Shadow. Now the thickness of those lines can certainly be changed. You also could increase the distance from the text and the border. Remember, with points, the larger the number, the larger the distance. It's also more commonly used to describe our point sizes for fonts. We'll choose OK. Now we have here a shadowed box. If we wanted to increase or change the indents, that's also very easy. I'll click anywhere into the box and simply pull on the markers in the ruler. The text, as well as the border, will be modified. Something to be a little bit careful of when you're working with this. Remember, paragraph formatting is copied forward. If I hit Enter now, the depth of the border is expanded. So this is usually a feature we want to apply after the fact rather than as we are typing. When you work with paragraph formatting commands, such as the tabs and indents, sorting text, bullets, numbering, and even borders and shading, you have some tools then to enhance and create dynamic documents in Word for Windows. When working with multiple page documents, you'll often want to add page numbering and even headers and footers. Headers and footers include text that can repeat at the top and or bottom of your documents. I'll show you how to set these up. So that you can practice adding page numbers, headers, and footers to a document, we need to create a multi-page document. You can also use any file that you may have previously built in Word. To begin, we'll go to File, New, and pick the Letter Wizard. Once again, we'll select a pre-written business letter. This time it'll be a press release. It really doesn't matter what the text is, we just want to be able to have something to easily build a multiple page document. Next, I'm going to edit out some of the portions here so we can just have paragraph text which can be copied. I'll select and delete. Finally, I'll select the entire document. To do so, I can triple click in the selection bar, which is the area outside to the left of the text, or can press Ctrl A on the keyboard. We will copy this text by using the Copy button in the standard toolbar. Next, move to the bottom of the document with Ctrl-N and select the Paste button. Continue pasting about 5-6 times until you've created a document that's 3 or 4 pages long. We can see our page count in the bottom left-hand corner of the status bar. Next, we'll go ahead and save this file. Any valid name is fine. I'll call this Pages. To add page numbers to your document, you can choose a page numbers command or create a header or footer with the page numbers. Let's add page numbers to the document. First, we'll move to the top of the document, although this can be added at any point. Next, choose Insert, Page Numbers. You can select from a position either at the top or the bottom, and notice that by doing so you will be creating a header or a footer automatically. We'll keep our position at bottom of page. The alignment can also be selected. Left, center, right are some of the options. Inside and outside. This has to do with page numbering that would be applied to odd and even pages. Primarily we would use this when we're working with double-sided copies. For right now, we'll use center. To verify or to check your alignment choices and your position choices, simply look at the preview box. Another option is whether or not we want to show the number on the first page. Often in creating long documents such as reports and manuals, we'll check off or turn off this option. For right now, we'll keep it as is. Finally, choose OK. To view the results, we can go either into the Print Preview or the Page Layout view. Let's first of all look at Print Preview. In the bottom left-hand corner, the page number is specified. You can view this a number of ways. One way is simply to zoom in by clicking, and here you see the page number with a border. The border was added as part of the format of this letter wizard, so it is not something that you would automatically expect to see each time you use this. We also have another option here, and that is multiple pages. By selecting this button and then highlighting across the pages, you can define how many you'd like to view in the print preview. This can be really helpful when you're trying to judge the layout on your pages, especially when you have various graphic elements or you're inserting your own page breaks. This is also a quick way to move to a specific page. At this point, we'll close. Another way in which to view page numbers as well as headers and footers would be by changing our view to the page layout. We'll select View and Page Layout. We also could have used the button that's in the left-hand side of the horizontal scroll bar. Let's move once again to the bottom. Here you will see on the screen the page number. It's grayed out so that you could not accidentally make changes to it at this point. As we'll see in the header and footer command, it's very easy, however, to access this when you want to. Headers and footers can be as simple as a report title or a page number that repeats at the top or the bottom of the document. But they can also include graphics, borders, and other special elements. I'll show you how easy it is to set these up. Let's add a header to this Pages document. Begin by choosing View and then Header and Footer. If you are not presently in the page layout view, Word will switch you to this view and show the header with a non-printed dashed line around it. Once again, we have a border here that can be easily added. It's simply because we built this document from the letter wizard. But as we looked before, borders and shading can be added or removed. We also have a header and footer toolbar. This includes a lot of handy options for building these headers. I'll show you just a few. Using the tooltips, we can see that a page number can automatically be added, as well as a date and time. There are also some tools for moving back and forth between the headers and the footers. Let's just put in a simple title here, and we'll call that Understanding Word for Windows. I have the cap lock on, and this particular document has a format that's reduced the size a bit and also added bold. But let's just change the format on our own. As with other text, we can select it and choose a different font or size, or even remove or add formatting, such as bold and italics. Notice as well at the top of the ruler we have a centered tab. As we'll see in a minute, this will help us to align an element within the footer or the header. We also have a Right Align tab at the right-hand margin. We'll press Tab once, and that will move us over to the right-hand margin. Next, I'll click on a tool from the Header and Footer toolbar to insert the date automatically. The date is added as a field, which will automatically update as the document is printed. Now we're going to move to our footer. The first tool will give us an easy way to switch between the header and the footer. Here we have the footer of this document, which was previously added by inserting page numbers. Let me show you how this can be done manually. I'm simply going to select this line and hit the delete. If you want your page number to be centered, but perhaps add other controls to it or formatting, you can press the tab, which will move us to the center tab, and I want to type out the word page. Add a space and insert once again the page number. We'll click on the tool. Now, even though you see a number 1, the page number will automatically update or change as each page of the document is built. We'll select the page number and add bold. Additional formatting can be added, that is, headers and footers can be multiple lines. Let's choose Close and view these. As we're in the page layout view at this time, simply move a little bit further to the top And here you will see the header. It's grayed out, so I'll show that in the print preview as well. And the page number will appear at the bottom. Let's move for a moment to print preview. Print preview remembers the way we were working before. We'll switch simply to looking at one page. And then using our mouse pointer, zoom in to the header. You'll see that the date is right aligned. Continuing towards the bottom, here we have our footer. If we move to the next page, I want to show you how the page numbering is automatically updated. Let's close and return to our document. A handy tip to keep in mind is that if you wish to move to a specific page in a long document, simply press your F5 function key. This is a go-to command. It's possible to move to any number of different elements within the document, but we simply want to go to the page number. We'll type in the number of the page we'd like to move to, which is page 3, and then choose Go To. In the status bar, we can see that we are now at page 3. Your option is to move to another page or simply to close. If you want to vary the page layout within a page or between pages, you need to divide your document into sections. In fact, we must use sections whenever we want to change the page numbering, document margins, the header or footer, or other elements in our documents. Sections are commonly created in larger documents with distinctive pieces, such as a title page, table of contents, and a report text. Some of these pages would not share the same page numbering and headers and footers. We'll look at a simple example with a new document. We'll start a new document here by typing in just a few simple lines for a title page. You can change the format as you like. I'm going to select this text and first of all make it centered. Also going to change the font and the size. And why not? We'll throw in bold. If this is a title page, you might also want to apply the borders and shading. Once again, I'll select this text and choose Format, Borders and Shading, and we'll just add a simple box around it. Let's move into our document and change our top margin. We'll choose File, Page Setup, and change this to 3 inches. These settings may work well for the title page, but they will need to be changed for the report text, so we'll add a section break. Also, if we want page numbering in our report, we do not necessarily want to see the title page with a number. We want our report text instead to start with page 1. To add a section break, choose Insert and Break. This is also where we can insert a page break, but we're concerned right now with section breaks. We want the new section to begin on the next page. Other options are available as well. Next, we'll choose OK. Similar to the page break, you will see a labeled break, which helps you to more easily distinguish between the different elements in your document. Take a moment to look in the left-hand side of the status bar. The insertion point is at page 2, section 2. We need to make a few changes here. Let's go back then to Insert. This time choose Page Numbers. We're going to set up a page number at the bottom. The alignment can be centered or otherwise. But we have another step here. We don't want our report text to start on page 2. We want it to be at page 1. For this, we go to Format. Near the bottom, the option Continue from Previous Section is picked. Instead, we'd like to start it at page 1. You could also pick a different number here if you were building sections that would be pulled together later. Numbering format, of course, can also be modified. Let's choose OK, and then OK once again. A couple other changes also need to take place, and that has to do with our margins. Choose File and Page Setup, and we want our top margin to be at 1 inch. We could also change our left and right hand margins as well. Another area in margins that we haven't looked at previously has to do with the positioning of our header and footer. That is, you can decide where you'd like to position these from the edge of the paper. Normally 1/2 of an inch will work out just fine, but you have the flexibility to adjust these. We'll leave by choosing, of course, OK. And now to make it a little easier to demonstrate how these different sections work, I'm going to go back to the Pages document and copy in some text. In this case, I'll press the F8 function key to extend the selection. This is easier than trying to highlight a large amount of text with the mouse. Start at the top, and now to move to the bottom, I'll press Control-End. Next, I'll copy this text to the area called the clipboard, and then we'll choose Window and switch back to our document. You might remember we can also use Control F6 to switch between available or open windows. And finally, I'll paste the text in. Let's look now at Print Preview to see how this title page and our document will work for us. I'll move to the top once again with Control Home. And here we have our very simple title page, which could be enhanced extensively with the formatting commands that we've looked at previously. When we switch to the next page, this is the first page of a report. Notice how the margin has been changed to 1 inch. I'll go back for a moment so you can see that. In addition, I'm going to click into or move to the page number. This is page 1 of section 2, which is also visible in our status bar. As you can see, working with section formatting can be a very helpful and sometimes necessary feature when working with a variety of different documents in Word 6 for Windows. No longer do you need to use tabs or a spreadsheet program to work with column data in an attractive and effective manner. With Word tables, we can set up our columns and insert text, numbers, as well as formatting such as borders and shading. We can even build in calculations. I'll show you how we can start building a table right now. To create a table in Word, first position the insertion point where you want to add the table. On the standard toolbar, click the Insert Table button. We'll press and hold down the button so that we can easily drag across this grid area to define how many rows and columns we'd like to build. We're going to select 3 columns and 6 rows. You always have the option later to insert or delete rows, but this gives us a format to start with. On the screen, you'll see a table, which is simply a grid of rows and columns marked by dotted grid lines. Each box in the grid is called a cell. The grid lines will not print, but these are activated or selected for the display. To turn grid lines on or off, we'll pull down the Table menu. Notice at the bottom that grid lines has a check mark next to them. This means that it's currently a selected option, and we do in fact want to keep this on, so I'll cancel out. The grid lines do not print, but printable borders and shading can be added to the cells, which I'll show you in a moment. The maximum structure for the table would be 31 rows and 31 columns. At this time, our insertion point is sitting in the first cell of the table. We can simply begin typing. You might also notice that the insertion point appears next to an end of cell mark. This is visible because the Show Hide feature has been turned on. That is, all the screen marks are showing. You can type as much text as you want to into the cell. The text will wrap to the next line if it cannot all fit in the column. To move to another cell, we can either click into it, press the Tab key, or use our arrow keys. We can also use a variety of different selection tools. For instance, we can select one cell for formatting by moving until you see the mouse pointer arrow. It's also possible to select an entire column by moving the mouse across it and dragging and highlighting those cells. If we want to select an entire row, we'll move out to the selection bar and just click once. Multiple rows can be highlighted by dragging and selecting. These concepts will be important to us later as we change the format of this table. For right now, we'll start in the first cell and begin typing. Remember, we can tab or click to move into the next cell. In this case, I'm just going to hit the down arrow key because I'm done with this row. Each time I want to move to the next cell, I'm pressing the Tab key. We'll format these numbers in a moment, but at this time they will be left aligned. If you are creating a table for someone else to complete, all of the formatting can be added before the data entry. When working with a table, it's always easy to add rows or columns. Simply select the same number of existing rows or columns and click the Insert Table button on the standard toolbar. Here we will select the fourth row and then choose the Insert Table button. Notice how it's changed to Insert Rows. Next, we'll return to the table and insert some additional text. We may not always be sure what widgets are, but we certainly are going to be buying a lot of them. To insert a column, here we can select any one of the columns in the table. The column will be automatically inserted to the left. When we inserted the row, it was inserted above. I can either choose the Insert Table command or pull down the table menu. Here we see the option to insert columns. If I change my mind, I can use the Undo button or choose Table, Delete Columns. To add a row to the end of the table, what we'll do is move to the last cell in the table and simply press the Tab key. This feature is great when you're using a table for changing a list of names, vendors, and other items. It's not necessary then to continue updating the structure. If you would like to use tab settings within a table column, you can do so, but instead of pressing the Tab key, which would move us to the next cell, we need to use Control-Tab. And notice as I move across here that right now Word is using the default tabs. This will give you that many more formatting options as you're working with tables. For right now, though, we'll delete this row. Next, I'll show you how to format a table. We'll look at features such as changing the column width and adding formatting such as bold, shading, and borders. I'll also introduce you to a feature called Auto Format. To change the width of a column, we can just move to the right-hand side of the column, and here you'll see that your mouse changes. This right-hand boundary can then be dragged in or out. You might notice as well as I'm doing this that the ruler also changes. That is, when we're working with a table, we have some column markers that will display at the top. I can also automatically adjust the column width for this entire table. Let's do so by selecting the table. We can either drag to select, choose an option under the Table menu for Select Table, or as you can see, press Alt and the number pad 5. With the entire table selected, I'm going to double-click at the right-hand boundary of any one of these columns. Word has just executed a function or feature called Auto Fit. Those of you that are familiar with Microsoft Excel might better know this as Best Fit. Word automatically calculates then the necessary column width for these table columns. We can also individually adjust a column not only by changing the grid lines, but by going up to the column markers. Notice how the mouse once again changes, in this case to a double-headed arrow, and I'll simply pull that in to change the last column. In addition, the text within that column has now wrapped. You can also press your Enter key within a table cell to start a brand new line. If you're using tables to build forms or more complex documents, you can also individually size a specific table cell. I'll show you briefly how that can be done. We'll select a cell, and this time we'll simply pull on the right-hand side. Because the cell was selected individually, only that individual column width has been adjusted. We could also come in and make changes to other cells. At this time, though, I'll select Undo. Word does not require as well that we have the same number of cells per each row, so there's a great deal of flexibility available to you as you work with tables. Now let's look at how we can spiff up this table a bit. You'll notice our heading here is sitting on the left-hand side. We also have 2 additional cells that we do not need. We can handle that in several different ways. These cells could be selected, and then we could choose an option under Table to delete the cells. Finally then, the remaining cell could be sized or pulled out to the full width of the table. But there's a little easier way to handle this. I'll instead select the entire row and choose Table and Merge Cells. This combines the cells together. In addition, the width has already been established to be the full width of the selected cells. All I have to do now is simply delete the paragraph mark. You can select more than one row of cells, but cells will only be merged horizontally. Next, to apply some formatting, I'll select these top 2 rows and choose the Center command. We also could apply bold or change the font. Let's highlight the numbers in the far right-hand side column and change the formatting in this case to a right alignment. Not only can we center titles, headings, and cell entries, but we could also center a table between the document margins. To do so, we'll select the entire table. Remember, one of the ways we can do that is with Alt 5 on the number pad. Next, let's look at Table. Under a command, Cell Height and Width is an option for alignment. It's important if you want the entire table to be shifted or centered that you, in fact, highlight it first. We'll choose OK at this point. You might notice then that the table automatically shifted to the center of this document between the margins. If the column width would change, this would also automatically adjust. We have the entire table selected, and we're going to add some borders and shading. Remember, the visible grid lines do not print, but it's very easy to apply a border to the table. We also could add shading. Let's pick Format, Borders and Shading, And this time, one of our preset borders is grid. When we worked previously with borders and shading, we did not see the grid option, but we now see it here because we're working with a table. As I click away from the table, notice how easy it was to add a grid. Another way in which we can work with borders and shading is by actually bringing up a Borders toolbar. An easy way to do that is either under View and then Toolbars. And here you can select Borders. I'll show you a shortcut for this option as well. We're going to move up into our toolbar and simply point to an area where we do not have a button. We'll click once with the right mouse button. This pulls up our shortcut. You'll notice the check mark next to Standard, Formatting, and now we'll pick Borders. This is a real handy toolbar anytime you are applying borders and shading to your documents. Let's see how this works then. You'll select the top two rows, and you'll notice first of all that some buttons are pushed in that reflect the type of formatting that has been applied to this table. Over on the right-hand side, we can add some shading. And it's that easy. Larger tables will often split between pages. You can easily repeat the headings of a table so that they will automatically repeat on every page. To demonstrate this feature, I'll add some more rows to the table. Let's go to Print Preview now to see the end result. Here we have the first page of our table, and then page 2. As you'll notice, the headings did not repeat, although this often contains the most valuable information within the tables. Let's go ahead and close. To repeat table headings, simply highlight the rows that you would like to see on every page. Next, we'll go to Table and Headings. That's all you have to do. Let's return back to Print Preview. There's page 1 and then page 2. The Table Auto Format command provides a variety of predefined layout styles that you can apply to a table, including borders and shading. We'll position the insertion point anywhere in your table. From the table menu, or even with our right mouse button, we can get to an option called Table Auto Format. Word provides an extensive list of different formats that could be applied to this table. I'll simply move down a few times so that you can see the preview and the variety of possibilities. Finally, I'll show you some special features when working with tables, which include calculations, sorting of table entries, and something called a table wizard, which will walk you through the steps of building a table. To demonstrate how calculations can be added to a table, I've moved back to our sample table and removed the extra rows. We can easily add a calculation to any cell within a table. It's possible to add, subtract, multiply, and even divide numbers in a word table. You can also calculate averages and other values. Let's sum the total of the purchases in our table. First of all, we want to have the insertion point in the cell where you want to see the sum. Next, choose Table and choose Formula. Word is smart enough to analyze a table and proposes an appropriate formula. In this case, equals sum, open parentheses above close parentheses, is shown. This means that this formula will total the column of numbers above it. We also can select an appropriate number format. Since this particular column has decimal points in it and commas, we want to choose this currency format. You also can build your own formulas which might calculate cells together, such as averages or working with addition and subtraction. We'll choose OK. All we have to do at this point is select the cell and make sure that it has the same right alignment. What's actually happened in this cell is that a field has been added, which means that if we make changes to the table, we can force it to recalculate. What I'll do is make a quick little change to one of these entries. Although the recalculation is not automatic, it's very easy to do. We can either individually select the cells that have the formulas, or if formulas exist in a number of places in the table, you can select the entire table. Then simply press the F9 function key to update the calculation. Watch closely in the total as I do this. If we want to sort the rows in a table, all we need to do is select the rows that are to be sorted, and then choose Table, Sort. Our option here is to sort by column 1, column 2, or 3. For right now, we'll choose column 1, which is the company, and choose Ascending Order. Notice how this is now in alphabetical order. Next, we'll go back and sort it by the amount to purchase. Choose Table, Sort, and that is column 3. The type of text is actually numeric, so make sure that this is set properly. And we'll set it at descending order. Fortunately, even though we've sorted the rows, it does not affect the calculation or the field for that total. This will still properly calculate the total. In this videotape, you had a chance to work with additional Word features, including document management, customizing Word, a variety of editing and formatting commands, as well as tables and graphics. In our next video tutorial, Advanced Word 6.0 for Windows, I'll show you how to automatically format your documents by using styles. You'll have a chance to create and modify your own templates. I'll show you the extensive features available for working with long documents. And you could automate repetitive tasks by building macros. We hope you've enjoyed this tape, and we look forward to working with you again.